welcome to yet another special episode of We Talk at RNTBCI Pod. And today we have Deena Jacob with us, a very special guest whom you have all known before, but through this podcast you will get to know a little more about her. Let's welcome Deena. Hello Deena.
Hi Jansi, thank you for the warm welcome.
Thank you for your time, Deena, to actually make some time for this podcast out of your busy schedule. So let me know about you, like where you grew up and how you grew up.
Okay, first of all, my pleasure. Thank you for having me here on this session. It's a privilege and an honor to be over here and being interviewed by you, Jansi. So about myself, I grew up in small island, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So it's like around 300 islands and only few of them are inhabited. So I grew up in Port Blair. It's a very quiet place and very close to nature and beach, you know. So mostly I was around sun, sea and sand. So that's what happened 17 years of my early life. And after that I moved to Chennai to do college. And then after that I was working in Chennai, Bangalore, Goa. And now I'm back in Chennai again.
Wow, from Andaman and Nicobar. For us mainlanders, I think hearing about Andaman and Nicobar always is like so special and exotic.
Yes, we didn't have professional colleges in Port Blair or Andaman and Nicobar Islands when I was growing up. So there was only one diploma college. So what used to happen is if you wanted to pursue your professional degree, all of us had to move out of the islands after 17 years, you know, by the time you're 17. Funnily, we used to call mainland as India. So we used to say that now we have to go to India. So it was a very short-lived life with parents for 17 years. And then you're suddenly after 17 years, you're so independent and you're staying alone and you're trying to handle yourself alone. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, definitely yes. So, is there anything interesting while you grew up?
As I mentioned, I think I was quite lucky that I spent my 17 years over there in the islands growing up. So it's a very small, nice place. Everybody knows each other. And it's like we meet the same people again and again. Like I used to go to school, I used to meet my friends in school. Then evening again, I'm meeting them as neighbors. And then Sunday we are again meeting them in the church. And on weekend, in family gatherings, friends gatherings, again we are meeting them. So I think there's a very close bond that had formed with the island people. And like we knew each other, the parents knew each other. So it was like a very small family kind of atmosphere and very safe because I think I don't remember any crime that has happened when I was growing up. Even something like a robbery or a theft or anything like that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you cannot steal and run away from the islands. That can be a possibility. And moreover, because it's island, we are depending on each other. So I think it's also important that we have a cordial relationship with each other. And overall, it was a very beautiful experience for me growing up over there. And weekends were like meeting friends or going to the beach. Not only on the weekend, everything is very nearby. So we could go to the beaches even during the weekdays. And picnics was like going to different islands, taking a boat, going over there, spending time and coming back. So when I was growing up, I used to think this is how the world is, you know. I didn't realize that, okay, it's an island and I'm growing up in an island. So, and also something interesting over there is the sun rises very early over there and it sets also very soon. So when I moved to Chennai first, I used to see that it's quite bright even at 6:30 and 7 in the evening. But in Port Blair, by the time it's like 5:30, it's like all getting dark. So that's something I don't know, I found different. And also it's a place which is prone to a lot of earthquakes. So earthquakes was very frequent for us over there. And it was so natural that, you know, we're doing something, we're in school or we're at home and suddenly it just shakes, there's an earthquake, there's a move and we're like, oh, okay, it moved, fine. And then we are back to normal. So, because most of the earthquakes are like very small on the Richter scale until the one that happened in 2004. Which was like quite high, 8.9, which led to the tsunami. That was also a place where tsunami happened. So it also has India's only volcano in the Barren Island.
Volcano, right?
So yeah, it's a beautiful place with a lot of islands, and then it also has a lot of tribals like Sentinelese and Jadwas. Maybe if you Google and check, uh, they are still not exposed to the outside world. They still live like early humans, and the government protects them. They still don't wear clothes. They eat root. They eat raw fish and things like that. Then they're highly protected because the government feels that if they come in contact with the normal people, they might not be able to survive. So I remember during tsunami time, my dad was the director for health services, and then they would get a count because they're hardly like 200 to 400 in number.
I think they still remain as a mystery for all of us. I did not know the government was actually protecting them. I think it's wonderful to know this side of Andaman and Nicobar from you directly. And how did you move to where you are right now in your career? Like, did you always imagine yourself to be where you should be, or how did it progress?
Oh, no. I think I had a very a long and a different journey. So, if you know, I've done my graduation in engineering. So, I'm an electrical and electronics engineer.
Oh my God, I'm also.
Yes, after that, probably I was not very keen on pursuing it. Though I worked for technical companies, engineering companies. And then I pursued Masters in Business Administration from Goa Institute of Management, and after that I also completed one more post-graduation in corporate communications. So as I was sailing through life and the career, I realized that marketing communications and corporate communications is something that really interests me because kind of taking care of internal and external communications of the company, being in the forefront in the digital medium, social media, PR, press release, media, everything was very interesting for me. So that's something that I really loved doing it over the years, and I felt that this is something that I can kind of do and enjoy.
That's really nice. Actually, that's a nice little collage of education that you have had, and I think staying in Goa, that must have been one of the good times for you, right?
In Goa for like seven odd years.
Wow.
I was working in Bosch, Goa.
Okay.
So it's interesting, like, and I've always loved to be around in places where there is sea. So maybe I grew up in an atmosphere like that. I was very happy to come back to Chennai also because I felt I could go and visit the beaches whenever I want. So half of my lifetime I've stayed near the beaches. So I really love that experience.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. So, as you know, we have been in work from home for quite a while, right? Has anything changed for you in terms of work or like your work-life balance or anything?
So the work from home suddenly came with a crisis situation of COVID, so which we were not prepared, and my team was also not prepared. So if you remember in 2020 March when we started off, but then when the scenario changed and we were not used to it, it was quite a challenge. It was quite interesting that how we moved along, and thankfully the company had digital tools like app and things like which we could make use of it.
Yeah.
So I think crisis communication came something new for us, but we were able to sail through it. And as people say, during crisis you should communicate more to your employees. Otherwise, the employees feel that they are lost and the company or the management doesn't care for you. So we started doing a lot of over communication on purpose, trying to connect the employees and the management. Lot of leadership videos, and also trying to reach the message to the employees at a faster rate, which was always, I wouldn't say that we did a very great job in that, because the decisions also sometimes happen a little at the last minute based on the scenarios. So we were also a little held up in sending the communication accordingly. But I think now over the year we got used to it, and we're working from home. So I think in this entire thing, my travel has been cut down, because I remember traveling more than an hour, reaching office and coming back. So I think that is one positive thing that I can think of.
Yes.
I've just cut down on the travel because I tried everything. I was driving, then I kept a driver. I tried the AC bus from the company. I even tried suburban trains, taking single bed per no. So tried everything to find out what is the most possible and the comfortable way to reach office and go back. So I think that is something which has changed and which is positive for me.
The only thing that I miss, and I think you would also miss, is meeting people often, because that is,
definitely. I think I miss all those gatherings, tea, coffee breaks and lunches that we have. So, so me and my team, we take time. So whenever we are there in office, it's like a small party for us that we gather, order food, and like we're so excited to eat together and have a coffee or a tea together. So that's something that we miss, definitely.
Definitely, yes. So everybody would love to travel, and now I think traveling has become a sort of craze for everyone to visit different places, right? So please share some of your experiences.
It's like, as Hans Christian says, to travel is to live. So I really like to travel. Except for the last 2 years where we didn't get to travel before that, I've traveled to Germany, UK, Japan, China, Thailand, Nepal. These are a few of the places I visited, and there are lots more places that I want to visit, and my target was to visit at least 1 or 2 new places every year, but the last 2 years it didn't work out. It's really interesting. I really love when I travel. I love to see the culture. I love to see the way they dress up and the food that they eat. So
yes,
and to see the new places, monuments, museums, and things that really interest me, their lifestyle and things. So I'm really looking forward for the travel, and I miss it actually.
Yes, I second that too. And okay, Deena, so if you notice, each decade will have a certain type of vibe and fashion and everything, right? So when you grew up as a teenager, how was the vibe of growing up in that, and what was the craziest thing that you would have done?
Okay, I think since I was growing up in the island, we were much cut off from a lot of things from the mainland. Yeah, because things used to reach very late. To give you a simple, funny example, is like the newspaper used to reach Port Blair in the afternoon of the flight. So, and my dad had subscribed it in his office, because we all were going for, we were going to school. My mom was also working, dad was also working, so nobody would be there at home. So he would get the newspapers in his office, and then he would get it for us. So I would literally get the newspaper only in the evening, like 7 o'clock when he comes home. Talking about vibe and fashion, I'm really not sure whether we were very fashionable at that time, because as I told you, we were like so cut off from the main. And that time we didn't even have cable connections. It was only Doordarshan when I grew up. And telephone connections and landlines were also very rare. And I remember a time when my dad had a pager. I don't know if you remember pager, a rectangular box like
yes, I
where you
remember. I see it in movies.
Yeah. So I've passed through that era of pager. And as I told you, there were no the landlines were not very prevalent over there. So now when I think of it, I really don't know how our parents raised us, because now we get so worried when our kids go out anywhere, and we're like all the time tracing them, or we're giving them mobile and trying to check what they're doing, where they are. But I think we would just tell our parents that, okay, we're going out to play or going to friend's house, we'll be back this time. And then I think then we're just back. And maybe the place was also such that my parents or the people over there didn't bother much. They knew that we would come back anyway.
Correct.
So safely, so they don't have to bother so much like how the current situation here is. So I think that was an era with a lot of cassettes and tape recorder, pager and things like that. So from there we have evolved, from the Walkman era to now it's all
drastic evolution.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nice. And as you have pointed out, the crime rate was pretty much low, right? So that was also probably one of the reasons and why nobody bothered. Everybody knew everyone, and probably all the places would have been a very close-knit community, and if anything, any mishap happened, everybody would have known and they would have been there to support. So
definitely. So I think 1 or 2 things that I remember is like, I don't remember seeing any beggars or homeless people around.
Yeah.
And another thing, it was a very hilly area. Now that people visit now, they'll notice that the hills are not like so sharp as before. So we never had auto rickshaws for a very long time. So when I was growing up, it was only bus and taxi. And that was not required because the places were near and we could just walk. We would walk to school and parents would walk to the shop to get things like that. So it was having a vehicle at that point of time was not like very important for us. Some of my friends who are there in Port Blair, they say that now the families over there have like 2 cars and there's no space on the road because the islands are so small. And, it's like you can reach anywhere so fast. So if you put on a music song, you would have reached the place and the song is not over yet. You know, it's like everything is like so near for you.
Okay, so actually, Deena, is there something that you'd like to share as part of your learning experience?
I just want to conclude saying that, you live only once, and if you have lived it right, then once is enough.
Well said, well said. So thank you so much, Deena. It's a pleasure for me to be here to have done this podcast with you. And thank you, viewers, for listening. We will meet you again in yet another special episode. Thank you.